David Trone is abdicating his seat as a congressman to run for U.S. Senate, and this wealthy congressman and total wine and more businessman is spending money on his campaign like there is no tomorrow. He spent $4.8 million in the last quarter. He said he plans to spend upwards of $40 million to win the seat. Maricé, unless George Soros himself runs, there is no one who can match this campaign, the campaign funds of David Trone. How can anyone win against him?
No, and I agree. I think this is a problem in American politics, is the ability to basically buy a seat. But we have seen David Trone running in this manner for other seats. Now, even though when he outspent the other top candidate, he didn't win. So just because he has all the cash to really flush it out and basically bombard all of our, if you're scrolling on YouTube or if you're scrolling on social media, he absolutely could get folks that don't really pay attention, etc. But when it comes to his the top candidate or I would say the favorite on the Democratic side, Angela Alster-Brooks, it's not just about raising money. It's also about what that seat entails in terms of track record and understanding the needs of Marylanders. And Angela Alster-Brooks has been, approved politician for way longer than David Trone has. Not only, is she an attorney, she's been an executive, etc. And, you can't really ignore the fact that she is a Black woman. And it is time to, that Maryland does send a woman and a Black woman, a woman of color, to the U.S. Senate.
Stacey, Trone's campaign donated a lot of money to special interest groups in the third quarter, such as $24,000 for Planned Parenthood of Metropolitan Washington and $25,000 to the United Negro College Fund. Is he buying votes?
Is the Pope Catholic? So first of all, I want to say I agree with what Maricé is saying, in that even though he's spending all this money on the campaign, it doesn't necessarily mean that he's the most effective candidate. But all three of us have been candidates before, and we know that there's a triangulation that happens in terms of campaign organizing. One is that you have to be present. You have to be able to get out and mix with people. The fish don't swim by your house. You have to go out and meet the voters. Then you have to have a message. You have to be on message, and you have to have the money to get that message out there. And they're all related, but it takes an awful lot of money to get that message out there, as we all know. And so for David Trone, he can sort of leapfrog over the other candidates in terms of getting his message out there early and often and make himself look like the front runner. But I think that as we move into this and we see more competition, say, for example, from Senate candidate John Teichert on the Republican side, then I think that you're going to start to see more competitive races coming about.
The campaign for the congressional seat vacated by David Trone in Congressional District 6 is revving up. Republican Tom Royals raised the most funds for his campaign in the amount of $160,383. Stacey, do you think that Tom Royals has a shot in CD6? And do you think his start out of the gate can foretell the future of the Republican primary winner?
So, yes and no. I want to make one final point about David Trone, and that was getting back to the organizations that he's supporting. And so with that money, he can build up that base that he has, he's establishing by getting that messaging out earlier. So any of the candidates that are running in CD6 would make a fine U.S. representative, and I would get behind any of them that wins the nomination. I support all of them equally right now. Where Tom Royals is concerned, he has the advantage of having a campaign manager, a seasoned campaign manager. And so again, if you get back to that triangulation that I was just talking about, he has the ability to have somebody, as the three of us very well know, when you run for office, there is just this fire hydrant of demand and information and expectations coming your way. And if you have a campaign manager, they can filter through what you need to know, where you need to go, and what you need to do. And so Tom Royals has that advantage right now. And so he can spend a little bit more time raising money or being present, I think, perhaps in some of the other candidates. Mariella has a good campaign going. All of them have their strengths. But I think that Tom right now, just based on the fact that he raised that amount of money, shows that he's got a good organization. Does that mean that he's going to win in the end? Time will tell.
Maricé, do you see a Democrat candidate emerging in the CD6 race?
Absolutely. We see that Delegate Joe Vogal has raised throughout his whole campaign the $252,000 versus in the last period, which he raised $136,000. And we also see Hagerstown Mayor Ms. Martinez, who raised 151,000. So at this point, I think it's too early to tell. But just looking at the demographics of Montgomery County and the Frederick area, we understand that Democrats tend to come out at higher proportions than our Republican counterparts. So I think it's still too early to tell, but it's definitely been a lively campaign season for the CD6 seat.